Welcome to another Inception special. However, this is a special. On another conversation with Faye Vale, we were digressing as we always do in our conversations, and we got onto a topic that really was interesting, and we thought, should we talk about it? And here we are, Faye. So before we go into this deep dive of a theory of alternative history, there you go, we've got you now. Faye, for anyone that may not be aware of you, just a brief overhaul of who you are, what you've done, just a snapshot.
My name's Faye Vale, and I was born in Leicester in the Midlands, and had 3 very strange experiences. The last one was quite profound, experiences with craft coming from nowhere or UFOs, contact with ETs, and then drawings given to me with information and different things, and all this actually changed my life.
There you go.
So
there you go. And a lot of the information, I mean, obviously I'm a similar background, so a lot of our theories, they're just our truths and theories. We couldn't even say our truths, so we're using discernment, and because of the experiences we've both encountered over the decades, change your perception, and we tend to now relook at things from a different perception. So we go, so that makes sense, so to speak. And we all know that, growing up through our history lessons and everything, we're told just to believe this is so, and as obedient children, we do to a degree. However, so this evening, we're going to, we've titled this, it's not an interview, it's a conversation. We've titled this Theory of Alternative History. Now, we are going to touch upon different areas in no order that come up and go in when they need to, because we would like to have an organic conversation, don't we, Kay? Who's Kay? Who the hell is Kay? My mediumship.
I was always Kay at school, so don't worry.
Oh, well, that's my mediumship kicking in. Step back, guys. So we're gonna touch upon Jesus, Isa, the 3 wise men, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, the Knights Templar, favorite for me, Enoch, Christ consciousness, and more than likely we'll digress in all that area to many more. Now, do you recall, Faye, when we, in the last conversation, and we got so deep that we digressed and we started to talk about the miraculous birth? I recall, please correct me if I'm wrong, it come off the back of, we were talking about hybrids.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. How we got to Jesus, I don't know, but it just went that way. But the fact is, we spoke about how we have an understanding now that other dimensional beings that we label ET have interacted with us humans. And from that, in the current times as well, there is what is labeled hybrid children. However, looking back at ancient civilizations and the scriptures, authenticated all around the world, not just the Abrahamic religions, we are told of these hybrid children then, are we not?
Yeah.
Where
of course. One that stands out that everybody knows is Jesus, there's Moses, there's Abraham. There's so many different ones that come into the Bible or the scriptures. I'm not saying that everything in there is true, but the fragments of it seem to all gel to like a being coming from somewhere else.
So we'll start off with the the contact between a dimensional being who the scriptures named Gabriel, and not a physical being apparently, but a dimensional being of energy that spoke to Mary and said to Mary, you will be with child. And I'm paraphrasing, I've forgotten my scriptures word for word. How can I be with child when no man has touched me? Now, obviously, we've already, we premised this with what's happening in the world now with hybrid children from other dimensional beings. So we started to look at, well, it does make sense, because on Newtonian physics and on everything that we have been told that is true, it would be under just that, without the ET experience, impossible for a woman to become pregnant with a child without sex and a sperm and an egg coming together and taking its course. I mean, it's literally, if you really use discernment on that, okay, no, it can't happen. Years ago, when I was studying comparative religions and I asked my peers in the field, so to speak, I was just told it was a one-off. Okay, it's a one-off and don't question it. Because if you question it, that's blasphemous, and then obviously you pop off to hell. So I never really got the question answered. And I've never really gone into a deep dive discussion until what we're going in now. So Faye, now we've set the stage for this conversation. What do you think occurred with the dimensional being, Gabriel, and the woman, Mary?
I think he came and fathered the child. And it, like you say, it's called a virgin birth, but when you actually had ET experience, there is so many times that women suddenly become pregnant, and then they lose their baby. And it's like that baby was put there and then it's taken away to carry on maturing somewhere else. And that's how I look at it. I mean, I myself lost a baby at 5 months. And since, I mean, talking years ago, but it was after I'd had contact. So who knows?
Who knows?
I can only say how it comes across, and many stories of contact contain this experience.
And I think also you've mentioned something important, like the child disappears for a while. That is common in contact with ET. If we go back to the scriptures with this child that was born, Jesus, we will go into the social determinants around him, what was going on, who come. We'll get to that part. There isn't much written about him until he's 33 and he appears, so to speak. There's been many people have interpretations. Well, he was over in India, he was in Ireland, he was there, and maybe possibly he was. But there was a period where he disappeared. Totally disappeared. So again, if you're, for me, if I'm deconstructing some information, I can see the parallels between the two. So again, he disappeared. He wasn't around. There's nothing to talk about really of his childhood at all, or where
I agree.
And then he just appeared. That is the scripture. Unless someone's changed it now and added something in. But that's the scripture that I studied in comparative religions, and an overall view. So we're starting off in our theory. So we can say, okay, Gabriel, who is non-human, said to Mary, who is human, you shall have a child. So Jesus was born. So you have to say, it's a new terminology, but Jesus was a hybrid. He was of two different civilizations or energies. So we are aware of Gabriel and what we deem the archangels as a higher vibrational level of beings. So the nearest to the source of the love, of the creators, of the Elohim. So we're aware of, and the name was given, was Gabriel. When you look at it that way, and then look at what and how he spoke, his message, not the later interpretation by different, King James Bible. And obviously then we found all the ancient scriptures, the scrolls and other books. If you look at the way he spoke, the terminologies, I'm going to pull out one, like he would say, the kingdom of heaven is within. Now, my contact with what we call ET has always said to me to go within. He would say, your father's house is within. And again, you need to go and do your own work in your own house and work. Everything is within. Does that resonate with you as well, as we start to look at the statements we know he said, and how we're still being informed of this, but in a slightly different language, because we're in a different civilization in the 21st century. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely, because it is about being within, and to go within is to cancelling out all the things that are around us.
Yeah.
And actually going within this body that contains the soul.
Yeah.
Disregard all this, mm-hmm. and go to the real center. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then the information will come. I mean, once you open up and allow that to happen, then the world's your oyster, shall I say? Or
well, I'd say
the universe
the magic begins, because if we take some other chapters out of the scriptures, it is said he walked on water, he healed the blind, he brought back the dead to life, and all of these miracles that only one human being could do, according to the scripture. However, in today's 21st century, I'm fully aware of very highly evolved spiritual human beings that can actually drink poison and it doesn't affect their body. There are healers out there, whether you call them Reiki masters or quantum healers or whatever label would, that actually, and I've witnessed it on video camera, shrinking and healing tumors. So I'm trying to show the parallel and bring it into context, that what the actions that he performed as this highly evolved spiritual being is going on today and has been going on ever since his experience was here. Does that resonate with you? Does that sound?
Oh, definitely, because of my own healing that I had when I had glaucoma with my eyes, and it was healed. And I'd been going to the hospital 4.5 years. And I was told on my last visit that my glaucoma had gone completely and no damage to my eyes.
Yeah.
Now, how I can explain that, I don't know. All I do know is that I was talking about the things that happened to me, talking about my drawings, talking about the work that was coming through, and it was all, I still feel it was some sort of reward for me to have the courage to do that. And now I've spoke about it to several people, but not very often is it believed.
Yeah.
I'm told it's impossible, but I know it wasn't.
Well, see, it's exactly, I mean, we're always told it's impossible, it can't happen, but it can only happen to Jesus. There you go. So that is the, if you're going to come back with a counter argument, because I remember asking all these questions and basically pissing everyone off from every religion. Actually, it's what I do for a living. Because I said, well, if one being can do that, then other beings should be able to do that. And I've heard and that's why I raised that point, because I'm aware of your healing. I a good few years ago was diagnosed with cancer of the bladder, and that sort of freaked me out. I had to go through the ego dark night, but anyway, long story short, spiritual intervention, whatever. And when I went, and the surgeon that was going to go inside and see the damage, and before he did it, he just looked at me, and he was an Indian surgeon. It was very, I could tell, beautiful. It was very loving. I could feel his energy.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, "You do know you have it's not there." And I went, "Oh, okay. Everything had gone. It would all. Now I can't explain that either. I can't explain it other than it was my experience. There's medical records of all the tests and everything, and that's all there is. And then I went to an inward, in trusting the source, in acceptance and allowance. And if I was to be healed, I would be healed. And if I wasn't to be healed, it's an acceptance. It's okay. The fear had gone of that one. I can't explain that. So when I tell certain people that aren't maybe aligned with the way that I speak, they say, no, that they must have made, the doctors must have made a mistake. So all the tests and scans, and they all just messed up totally. Rather say that than say, oh, wow, it's possible. So, because what that does, I think why it's denied so much, and it's only allocated to this being Jesus, is the fear was, I think, for those in control or whoever, if we became aware of the powerful beings that each one of us are, and that we could heal. I mean, they teach us first how to, they support, but then we would become what we deem a threat to the narrative that the belief systems that we're supposed to follow. Does
correct? Correct.
With you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone past that part. Now, you mentioned in the last conversation, and with quite a feisty way, and what about the three men? What did they bring? And you rolled it off to me, and I'm going, okay, hold on. We're going to have a conversation. So, okay, so now the next stage, when Mary gave physical birth, like us women do, physical birth to this child, tell me your theory on who the three men were, the symbology of the star as well. Tell me your theory on this.
I feel that the three wise men, since my contact, have had drawings of what they call the wise ones. And the wise ones are like the people we go to for knowledge.
Yeah.
And I feel that this was the three wise men. Say you went up in a spaceship from Earth, you wouldn't just go on your own without people with knowledge.
No.
So it's the same thing. And when Jesus, or the combined being, was about to be born, these three probably came from the same place as others.
Gabriel and the rest, yeah.
And the thing is they the star, but my belief is it was a spaceship. It was some kind of beacon to take them where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
They took with them gold. What was it? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah.
Well, frankincense and myrrh are two known brilliant healing things, and to guard you against infections and all sorts of things. The gold would be to be able to have some sort of riches to get where you want to be, or get what you want, or even to give you the esteem that you are somebody.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so like it's similar to when like a spaceship goes up today, say an Apollo or something, and everything that they may need, because they're on a different planet or a different, is taken with them.
Yeah.
So, and even as a child, when I was at school and we did religious studies, when you get the picture with the halo, I always thought it was a space helmet.
Yeah.
What else can it be? So, like, since then, since being a child and thinking that way, I've just never seen it any other way.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you notice the iconic, classic paintings, way back, religious paintings that are all over the churches and whatever, and in the books, and there was always there was a craft. There was always a craft, or with a beam of light coming down. Always a beam of light. Now, I know, and multiple millions of experiences who've interacted with other dimensional beings. There is a light, and it doesn't reflect out. It is internal. It is a source, and we all experience this light. If you go to a near-death experience, it's light. So
that's right.
I'm just saying, how they portrayed it in their art to try and as a narration, because obviously we have to take into context that many people didn't write then, or they didn't do them, but they were creative artists, which is right brain anyway, conscious beings. They told the story in the artwork. The artwork is just plain as day. There's craft in all of them, near enough.
Yeah, you're right.
So I have no issue with your theory at all. Looking at that point where humanity was at 2,000 odd years ago in the timeline, we're in the Homo sapiens sapien timeline of history. What would be needed at that time would be for this being, Jesus, who had come in specifically to shift the consciousness of humanity, to bring in, we could call it Christ consciousness, the Christ consciousness. And so you would need to ensure that he was well taken care of, that he had protection, because at that point, a lot of humanity in that area was, let's say, asleep, and it would be a threat. So obviously, eventually, we do know what was going on. We're not naming sections because that gets taken off everything. So, okay, right. So we're at this point with the three wise men and the star, and we've covered that area. We've also touched on before how the time that he was away, that seems to, and as far as I know, and I could be wrong, cannot be explained. Where did he go? I want to come back to that, because there's many experience talk about when they meet this, use the word hybrid child, they've been taught, they've been this, they've been that, and they've gone through a process of awakening within. So to complement, to bring in not just, let me put this another way, the synergies of the human experience and the dimensional as in one, so that they may come back and return into this 3D world at some point. Well, I would say they're already here, but that's just my truth. Yeah. And obviously yours. But Jesus at that point would have been given the same schooling to integrate him with the human aspect of it, the male, Homo sapiens side, but also the spiritual awareness, the consciousness of who he truly was. I remember him saying in the scriptures, they say, "You are God." They said to him, "You are God, you blaspheme." And and he said, "I say unto you, you are all gods." That's another statement where he came in specifically to open up and I would say my label of this is to self-realization, non-duality. He started the ball rolling with non-duality and the initiation and process of non-duality. Does that resonate with you? That wasn't there at that time in humanity. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely. And he has to have both sides of it to when you go along in the Bible, and he's giving out his talks on the scriptures and that. This is again like knowledge coming from somewhere else to reinstate who you really are, reinstate your power, reinstate that, okay, you've been taught this from birth. That resonates because I've got to live on earth. I'm with a normal family, shall I say, although Mary can't be normal, but with an ordinary family. So you have to have that level to sort of stay in the reality you're in. But then you get this being, this amazing energy comes in, and it's teaching and it's gathering more and gathering more. And if you look at what's happening today, it's very similar.
Yes,
and people are teaching, and you've still got those on the reality level where this is my world. But when you go to the fairground and you go on their machines, grab and then bring your prize and drop it. This is what we like, and we're trying to go, okay, I'm lifting you up. You're more than what you think you are when you're down there. I hear you.
That's a really good analogy. I mean, the more that as I said, this is why we both wanted to do a deep dive on this, and we wanted to look at the parallels. We're just theories we're throwing out there. So please don't send any hate mails. It's just theories. We're looking into it. It's for me, it's fascinating. And I will keep going back all through my studies and through my, when I've questioned this with my peers in that field. Only him. And I'm saying he brought in self-realization, and that was to the other human being to say, you can self-realize as well. This is it. This is the beginning of an initiation of you becoming self-realized of who you truly are. You are the gods. How many times he said, you are the gods. And that just, that was sort of pushed to one side. I mean, we all know about it's still in the scripture, but is it the Nicene Council, whatever, but we don't want to get sidetracked with the conspiracy theories, but push all that to one side, who did what, when, and how. We're just looking at the parallels of the human experience now and the human experience then. So if we've got to the point now where he was bringing in non-duality, and he was an awakened being, obviously, which then would offend and annoy everybody and wish him dead, which still goes, well, we don't burn the witches no more than that, but we can see what's happening now in our world, because billions of beings are waking up at one time, and it's trying to control this surge of, I'm more than this. So there's billions of humans waking up now globally. So we're looking at the parallels. At that time, the population was a lot small on Earth and the area and communication. However, it was spread out. But I don't want to jump too far ahead yet. I want to stay in Jerusalem. I want to stay in that area. And step to one side of the theory is, I want to touch upon the woman Mary Magdalene. I smile because, my God, I studied her inside out, upside down, everything in alternative literature, because how I perceived who she was. Now, what is your theory on Mary Magdalene? I would say a disciple, if you want to use that word, of Jesus, close, another awakened being. However, I will hand back to you.
I think she was an intermediate, intermediate, is it called?
Yeah.
So she was like a negotiator on both terms. Because although this energy called Jesus, or was named Jesus, came down, he still wasn't the person who didn't need any experience or any guidance.
Yeah.
And she got called lots of names because she was that close to him.
Very, very close. Yeah.
But in order to be that close to him, she had to be him.
Yeah. Expand on that. I'm not letting you get away with that, Jem.
So, like, she had to be him because she had to be him on all levels to bring through understanding. And although people who study religion or Jesus or whatever think this was the perfect being, he wasn't. I don't think there is anything you could call the perfect being, because we're all learning all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel that she was his protector. She was his wise woman.
Yeah.
She was the one who gave him. Okay, she was called a whore. But
that was by the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Obviously, defamation, and that was by one of the nasty popes in the beginning. But then later on, decades later, the Pope another Pope apologized. But that was to discredit her at the time. She was not the whore. And how they depicted her, and that's why they depicted her, and the artists, they got them to paint her in a red dress and things like that, the Scarlet Woman. And then later on down the line, the Catholic Church apologized for making a statement, but it was to discredit her because she was a powerful, powerful woman.
That's right.
Even in some of the scriptures, you can see there was, with the other disciples, jealousy. There was jealousy in there. From the normal human, not jealousy negative. Those that hadn't fully awakened to who they were and the process of this initiation. And there's many statements where they were not happy that she was that close to Jesus. I'm going to ask you though, I've watched the films, as we do. I love Dan Brown's books. I like his films actually more than anything. And I've gone to alternative information over the years. I don't have, and I don't know why people do, but there's a reason I'm asking. I don't have an issue that Jesus had an issue, that he had a child with her. I do not. Now, I'm looking at from the context when I was studying years ago, back in the day in Jerusalem, every Jewish man, because Jesus was not a Christian, he was Jewish. He'd come into a Jewish faith and culture. He was not a Christian. And every Jewish man had to marry. It was compulsory. And this is a way of life. Now, I'm not going to digress off down that because that gets in more into the religious political debate. But however, I do not have an issue if Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a child and the story was true. The theory is, to Ireland. It does make me smile because it's just where my theory goes. How does that resonate with you? Is there a reason why he shouldn't have children?
No reason whatsoever. No reason whatsoever. And he's given that. I mean, what's more beautiful than two people having a child?
Yes.
And in many of my drawings, it I get drawings of mothers and child because it's one of the greatest unconditional loves that comes in. So,
and also you are producing on Mother Earth an upgrade to humanity.
Exactly.
If we go back to what the collective that watch these shows and podcasts, we are fully aware, around about 200,000 years ago, they haven't found the missing link, by the way, all of a sudden we were upgraded to these amazing Homo sapiens sapiens. We were just Homo sapiens sapiens. And it's everyone knows now that someone tinkered with the DNA. Somewhere, some being, could be Gabriel, we don't know. And I don't say that in jest. I'm serious. We don't know. The Elohim, the creator gods. Someone upgraded humanity 200,000 years ago. And our brains expanded, our intelligence, our discernment. We started, farming and herding and gating and so it's not, I'm looking at the parallels, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that this reunion is what's happening now, that there are hybrids. Yeah. There are hybrids on this planet now, I'm telling you. There's no difference. So it follows that why would they not have a child or more? We will touch on this because that will take us to, from my theory of the Knights Templar, okay? I've researched, due to, first of all, doing ancestry of my family history and going back, and found a connection with the Knights Templar. And then I found a connection to Mary Magdalene. Obviously, I'm from Irish ancestry. And then I'd listen to all the Crusade story. I would listen. I watched everything you can think of. I went to current history, and then I went out alternative. And my God, it was mind-blowing. And with the Knights Templar, my theory is they were protected. It wasn't, they weren't protectors so much of the Christians so they don't get killed by the Muslims. They were, I suppose for me, they were like, I'm trying to find a terminology, which is really hard. They were aware of the initiation of this man, Jesus, the Christ. They were aware, they were fully initiated into it, those that had come in. And they were like, like you said, the three wise men come in the beginning as protectors. They were there to protect this, had to be kept a secret. This is just a theory. I'm loving this. I'm just deep diving. And a lot of recorded alternative history that's come out, actually, and especially there's a gentleman, I watched all these documentaries on this, and his name escapes me, I got brain fog, and how they were in Portugal and where they went and everywhere they went. And there is evidence, full-blown evidence, archaeological, written history of they were practicing the initiation. I'm going to get to Egypt, same as the Egyptians did in the sarcophagus, in the pyramids. So how does that resonate with you when you look at the Knights Templar and all the mystery behind that, and how, I mean, Dan Brown brought his Hollywood bit out, but I'm trying to come back to what resonates with you, and how at the time, Catholic Church went on their crusades to burn and torture them in the most despicable way. How does that resonate, that if you've got a bloodline for a hybrid, you've got a hybrid being, and other beings are fully aware that this is here, well, it's quite obvious it's going to happen. It's the same today. It's still going on today. Or maybe not so much now, but back in the 40s, 50s and 60s, if people were abducted by governments, never mind ET, because they had been recognized that they had some of the traits of a hybrid or some description. And many were murdered, obviously, as well. We know that way back, not so much now. So how does that resonate with you, that the Knights Templar were the protectors of this self-realization, the protectors of the bloodline? It's just a theory I'm throwing out there.
Well, I think it's quite obvious. It's quite obvious that they were, and it's the same. I keep going back to today because everything just relates so much. And you know, and I know that so many people who go against power or something that may resonate with too many people suddenly disappear, or they're killed, or they commit suicide in weird circumstances, and all that. So it still goes on.
It does.
It still goes on. I mean, you've only got to look at the Second World War with Hitler.
Yeah.
Trying to annihilate all the Jews, and it's the same thing.
It's not,
and it's history repeating, isn't it?
Itself and again. I mean, I'm coming back to that because I'm going to hold into, you know, and stay there about the bloodline, because now coming from a being like this human Jesus, his offspring would not be here for kingship, for grandeur. They would not be here to come to the throne and rule. That these are awakened beings, and the children and the descendants of that bloodline would keep hidden for thousands of years as it went on, and would have had. This is just a theory. I'm just theorizing here. So they wouldn't want to rule a country or to rule Jerusalem, or, you know, to be king or queen. They would keep hidden. But as the bloodline progressed down to share the truth about who the individual person is, who they are, with the secret meetings, and this, we all know it all went secret. I mean, it even touched in later on, way down the line. Originally, that's where the Masonic aspect come in, to keep things, but then it got corrupted, as everything always does. However, for me, the Knights Templars, it was the initiation and protection of the bloodline. It was exactly. The bloodline, yeah. Which is still in existence today, that was their role. Because, you know, people, and I've had people say to me, oh, if Jesus had a bloodline, then so long down the line, generations, they could say, oh, we need to rule the world. I said, why? Jesus didn't want to rule the world. He wasn't egotistic. It was nothing. You've got it. The total perception is wrong of why he came. And if you do look at alternative history and parallel it to what we already know, you wouldn't want to be known if you were a descendant through the bloodline of this gentleman, Jesus, because you at that point, you knew what would have happened. You would have known. And don't forget, at the same time as we have now in the 21st century, there are Homo sapiens, conscious beings here, are fully aware of who they are, but use it for nefarious things, you know, malevolent ways to control people. It's like alchemy. I mean, the initiation itself is an alchemical spiritualization of the physical body. But it has to be a polarity. So like you can say good or bad, you know, to have the opposite sort of thing. So that would bring into, we can take that forward. I'm not going to go into the dating of the pyramids and were they before Jesus or after. That's not what I'm about. I'm looking at parallels of you know, what could possibly, what we're told is not true, could possibly be true. I want to jump ahead from that. We will go back to Enoch. We will go back because I know that was another one. If we go to Egypt, Akhenaten, for me, that is another one that resonates. Now, my love for Egypt, I never know why until an experience. But apart from that, I perceived the pyramids not just as tombs or whatever, as initiation rooms. And very much, I can refer to, the 3 days in the cave and then resurrected, if you want to. That's also in the Sumerian tablets and everywhere else. It's this initiation is not just Jesus. This initiation was coming from the gods in the beginning. It's always been here for those that wish to hear and see. So, and Akhenaten, and when I studied up the pharaohs of Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt and the history, some believe it was Moses. We can go back to Moses. I'm not going on the political, biblical argument there. I'm saying my awareness, my theory also includes that Akhenaten, when he became Pharaoh, he said, you're no longer to believe in multiple gods, another one, like this man Jesus, and you're to believe in the one God. And when I'm not going to go into great detail, but when you go down his narrative and how him and Queen Nefertiti, how they together, I'm not saying anyone was reincarnated or nothing. I'm looking at the parallels and what happens.
Yeah.
Their council could not tolerate this, how can I put it? This awakening he was giving to the people, very similar to this man Jesus. Cut a very long story short, he was removed. I actually don't know if they ever found where he went. However, nearly all of his statues, obelisks were defaced.
That's right.
From the one God, and then it all went back to the multiplicity of God of this, God of that, God of that. So. But then when you go deeper, and there are alternative researchers out there, they are fantastic. I've watched thousands of hours of their research and documentaries. All the Egyptians that this pharaoh was about, and the pharaohs, was initiation, was awakening to the true self and contact with dimensional beings.
Exactly.
Star systems, the same as Jesus' time. There is an aspect of astrology, if we want to call it that, but how the alignment of the 3 main pyramids with the stars.
That's right.
It paralleled the time of this man, Jesus. Are you resonating with that sort of theory where I'm going with it?
Definitely. No, I'm 100% with you there. Definitely. Yeah. That's the whole, shall I say, the whole package put together about how it began, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't put it in a certain timeline because obviously I come from the non-duality. All timelines, all parallel universes, all places exist one time. So it's still, it's there. So I don't do the past life thing, but I understand how you can use past life if you want to. So I'm seeing that there. And I'm seeing the same rituals. And when I went to London a few years ago, the British Museum, the Egyptian Museum lent to the British Museum the Book of the Dead. And when I went there, I'm telling you, when I went there, I can't read hieroglyphs, even though I paint them and I don't know what I'm doing. The energy that I just had a knowing, about, and the initiation aspect, when they were talking about, the journey of death, it's the initiation of the process, because even the most modern scholars or gurus today, from Papaji to Muji, whatever, they say you need to die before you die, which means the initiation, get rid of your beliefs, your ideologies, your concepts, that you're this limited, useless human being, that slave just to get up, go to work all day, and then just die. It's the same teachings as Jesus. So, and we are fully aware, even though, academia will say it's not true, just like they do with everything, that Akhenaten had an extended skull. And people say, oh, it was bound. Well, it's been proven scientifically today. There are cultures that used to bind the head to wanted to look like these gods that were on earth. However, humans, we have a suture that goes right down here. These beings, when you look at their skulls, don't have it. They don't. It's not there. But we're not going to digress off that one. We're looking. Yeah, we could go on everywhere, but I'm not into politics or proving anyone right or wrong. We're just having a deep dive, looking at the parallels to what we as experiencers are experiencing, what we've gone through, the initiation on our individual selves. It's like dying before you physically die. It's the same. How does that all resonate with you?
Well, that's exactly how I feel, and I have to say this, but once you have contact, for some reason, I've never been a religious person and not delved into the Bible or anything, but for some reason you become not religious, but very, very aware.
Yeah.
Of that energy, very aware, and it is like the Knights Templar. It is like Mary Magdalene, because you feel that protection, you feel that power that's saying to you, open up, go with this, or you're protected, and it doesn't matter what happens. You must be the same. I know I'm protected.
Yeah, you know.
And I don't have to, I'm not saying I don't still practice it now and again, no. And I think, I need to protect myself. But it's a different thing altogether. It's like a living thing within you. And it's so powerful and so...
It's part of who you are. It's part of who you are. And it's true. I mean, it's not just an ET experience. I mean, I'm aware it happens through near-death experiences as well. So
yes, it does. It does. It's an enlightenment.
This energy, and I would say, I mean, I wasn't religious. However, I was questioning everything in my reality. And that's why I went off and studied comparative religions, not because I was religious. And it was through the study. I mean, I used to, when I was a child, used to say, if there's a God, kill my mother. That's what I used to say. I had no belief.
Oh, that's very kind.
I know, that was me. Killer. We're all sorted now. So I was searching for truth because I couldn't understand. I said, we're touching now on the God, how we found the God source or the Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So I wasn't religious. Because, as I said, when I was a child, and I was brought into hell when I came here, and I started, and the more I studied, it was through studying comparative religion and questioning everything. And every time my peers couldn't tell me anything, or they couldn't give me a comprehensive, rational answer that said, no, that's just Jesus, I become closer to the source just through that. Yeah. And then I had a recognition somehow what I was reading the scripture like I'm speaking to you now. I wasn't reading it as we were told to read it and comprehend it. Like when I was forced to go to Sunday school, I hated going in a church then. It was like, and I needed to run. And I got out. I'd always leg it. And they say, oh, you must be the devil because you can't go in the church. And like, fuck off, it's the most depressing, pedophilic, whatever at the time, But now I love going to churches. I went one.
Yeah, me too.
A couple of weeks ago in the village for the first time. I got inside and I went in the church and met the vicar and they went, oh my God, I love the energy because I have a different perception. So when I say I studied the comparative religions, it was part of my journey to find the truth. And then the first thing I called it was God, not God of the religions, the Abrahamic, but there was a God. There was something, and I could only call it a God. and I was connected. And then I started going, then it moved. I went, I'm a child of God then, because I knew I was connected. Because, you know, this the creation story, and I breathed my spirit into it. I thought, that's fucking logic. If he's breathed his energy in me, then I'm part of him. And then I'm hit. So that's how I started to deconstruct it backwards. And so that assisted me on the way. So then when I had a recognition of who the beings were, not the dead people, the beings, it just fell into place. And I become aware. And I went, so I'm that too. I'm that, like, you know, Jesus or anybody or Faye, or we're all. And then I had to do the work. I had to go through the initiation of working on myself, and to the death of the ego, I suppose. I've still got the ego because I'm still here, but you know what I mean, the death of the ego.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, to work through that. And it's amazing. And I love how, you know, different people say how they were non-believers like me and you, and then through the journey they come believers. I mean, I call it now source.
Yeah, exactly.
I can say God. I go, oh God, would you help me? But I'm not calling a deity, so to speak. And I know, and normally I hear, ask yourself, and I go, you know, I'm like this. You do it. You can do it. You can do it.
That's right.
Now, why I've just gone on to that and I've expanded on that area is because I am, in recent times, the last couple of years and more so the last 2 years, what's come into my awareness is the terminology Christ consciousness. Okay? And it would come up and I'd hear it. What's that? And with the understanding of my theory that I had, I then saw it and I'd start saying, or Christ consciousness, I don't mean if you're religious. And then I thought, no, you can't, you know, like you change a name because it's already been defiled or tarnished. I can't change the terminology of this energy of Christ consciousness. It's not religious, I'm saying it again. It's this energy that you know that is within every Homo sapiens sapien here. But however, we're just we're talking on a timeline. This man Jesus and Moses, and we will go back to Moses, and Akhenaten, and current in contemporary times have this Christ consciousness. I'm labeling it that, just a label. I don't know what it's really called, but I'm just labeling it. And it parallels the same as in the past, from whether it's Egypt, whether it's Sumerians, whether it's, you know, the Aztecs or whatever, it doesn't really matter. However, also from these beings in the last 2 years, not just me, around the earth, experiences of whatever field they're in are saying, I become aware of this Christ consciousness. And we all seem to have that, because it's got the religious connotations to it.
That's right.
Have you become aware? You may not call it Christ consciousness, but I've got a great round the houses explanation of this Christ consciousness.
I feel that once you recognize it, it's an expansion of consciousness, and it's going on to something far greater. And when you decide to do things in the right way, it's like it comes in and that little voice goes, this is right. And it's not about doing it right because Jesus would have done it like that. It's about doing it right because you're serving. We're serving this amazing energy that expands and evolves. And as it evolves, so it gathers in and gathers in and gathers in. And we are basically the explorers, and the more things that open us up and the more things that come in, it doesn't have to be Christ consciousness, but it's the reason it's quite Christ consciousness is because we are aware of all the things we've just been talking about. That's what brings it into the Christ consciousness, because it's not just consciousness, not defaulting consciousness. Consciousness is it's
a higher frequency of consciousness.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's like when the beings come in, and we're all fully aware, anyone that's experienced these dimensional beings, they will tell you, we'll give you terminology that resonate with you at the time. So, you know, obviously, if you're talking in a Christian world, country, it's going to be like Christ consciousness. In another, could be India or somewhere, it will be maybe one of their deities or something that was awake and aware, you know, a conscious being. As just to start to introduce, I mean, and I'm aware that, and the beings have changed that are coming in. It feels like we're getting the biblical lot are coming back for some unknown reason, not in the context of religion, but. And other people have spoken to me about these, they say, angelic vibrations, these higher vibrations. I mean, even with me, I spent a lifetime experiencing greys and ETs, and then we had the mantras, and, you know, and it was just like, not that they were lower vibration, but, and all through life, every so often these higher beings would be there. I can recall them. And, you know, teaching and this and that. But then the last 2 years and the last year especially, many have come forward, and even myself recently, on a few occasions, the vibrations come in, and it's really this unconditional love. And how, when I'm saying, well, who are you? I know they're going to give me a terminology that my mind can handle. Yeah. I mean, you think I could handle anything because I can handle grey, but no, they're too powerful, and you can't see as yet the truth of their energy, because I think we just annihilate, you know, we'd internally combust. It's like, whoa, the physical body wouldn't be able to comprehend it. It wouldn't. We need to keep raising our vibration. However, so they come in a certain frequency that we can connect, as we explain. And I've been hearing again and again and again, and other people are telling me the same thing, even those that I interviewed. We are the Elohim. And I go, I know you. And then they give me memories of way back and way back. So what does that mean? It's symbology. It's not the title, the Elohim, out of the Torah or out of the Bible. It doesn't mean that in literal sense. It's a symbology. And I'm going, the creator gods. You know, you're the creator gods. And so, but that's not just me. I'm hearing it from everywhere. So it's like these beings, these creator gods, what we're labeling them creator gods, are coming back in a way with this, and people saying this love they're feeling. And, you know, and if anyone says to me, well, how do you know they're not the devil? I said, for fuck's sake, how would I feel this unconditional love that makes my physical body weep for no reason and feel this joy? Well, the devil's not going to do that, is it? Do you know what I mean? He's going to try, if he did exist, which he doesn't. He would try, you know, I'm talking on their level, he would try and get me to go and, I don't know, be a prostitute or gamble or do coke or something. That would be his job, yeah? So have you been aware or heard of anyone talk about the different energies coming? Because why it's still parallel and relevant, because it seems to be set times on Earth. I don't know the numbers of years. I'm not one of those. Like the time of Jesus, they all come in. There was a time before. They were definitely around old Moses. They were around Abraham before because Abraham was obviously before Jesus, and they were around the Pharaoh, these beings as well. They're like a frequency. Have you become aware recently of a higher frequency, or when you get your messages that are channeling through, have they shifted at all in any way? I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I think they have shifted, and they've sort of gone higher.
Yeah.
Because the messages are so relevant for what's going on today. The messages are so relevant for how we're planning our future, or how we're going to deal with what's going on at the moment. And these sort of higher answers, shall I say, are a bit similar to the Knights Templar, but on a different level. And it's the same thing, the same as Mary Magdalene. This is coming in. But when I spoke earlier about feeling wholly protected, because we feel that whatever comes in, even if it disrupts our own energy or whatever, that it's not going to harm us. And so we can go forward, and we can seek it out and welcome it in. And I can say that if ever you felt unconditional love, which I have, and you're saying you have, and quite a few people who I speak to have felt it, and there's no way you can explain it, because it's like this warmth, this light, this
joy. Is just, you can't.
And I can remember having it once. It was this overwhelming feeling, and I didn't want to come back to this reality. And I was told, no, you've got to go back. This is what you're doing. And I was told that. But if I had had a choice, I would have gone, I'm off.
I mean, we're on this about this unconditional love, and there's a reason I directed the conversation there, is because it is this experience, it's experiential, really experiential experience, is part of the initiation. It's part of it. Once, as it can come in drips, or you can go boom, like obviously, some do. It can come in big blobs. But you get it, it comes and it keeps coming and it keeps coming. And then eventually the spaces between it come in. For some, the gap gets shorter and shorter, but it's part of the initiation. And it's the initiation that Jesus spoke of, that Akhenaten spoke of, and many others. I'm not going down that road, but we will digress till tomorrow morning. So for me, it's like something is occurring. I'm not talking about what's going on in the 3D world, because that's on a different timeline to me. But something is occurring where the people are coming to me and saying the vibration is so high. Yeah. It's so high, and it's like, well, I'm really excited, I really am, because I tell you why. I went on my phone earlier on today to go to my emails, and to get to my emails, Google comes up first. Be warned! There's a big solar flare coming to kill us. And do you know what I mean? So when I get messages like that, do you know what? You can see the polarity going on. So anyway, I wanted to bring that in. We did digress slightly, but I want to pull back now, because we are not ending this conversation, because we touched on Moses. And I had this thing with Moses too. I don't know what it was. I remember watching the Charlton Heston film. I'd learned about Moses in religious studies. I mean, it was like torture studies, wasn't it? Any questions? Yes. Out of the room, Gloria. How dare you? You're going to bed in hellfire now. And I remember watching again and again and again. I was fascinated as a child, a young person, with Moses parting water. But what really fascinated me, the story of Moses, that I Christianity, or no one could explain to me. He'd killed a man in anger. He was a murderer on the run. And next thing, you know, he's this man that does this magic. And it was, how did that happen? What happened to Moses from, he was a killer, and then he was awakened, self-realized. I am that I am. That I am. And for me, now I look back, at the time I couldn't stop. I even dreamed, do you know, I dreamed of Moses in a bloody burning bush. I had experiences that were mind-blowing. I forgot about that. But now I can look back under, you know, in the context of this conversation, he went through an initiation. He went through an initiation. If you look at the story of Moses, of how he came about, you know, in the River Nile, you know.
Found in the basket.
Egypt, by the way, Egypt.
Yeah.
Egypt. There's a bloodline going on here. But the fact is, you know, and he became the murderer, he killed, and then he become what the Christians and the other Abrahamic religions call a prophet. I would say it parallels every other timeline or every other hybrid being that is still human, hidden away for some time until an initiation has to occur, and you see magic. Now I asked again, well, how did Moses part the sea? Well, no, don't ask that question. He just did, because he was Moses, and just like Jesus. Well, now let's bring this, parallel it to this time now. We have a science called quantum physics and superposition and all the rest of quantum bubbles and string theory, and it explains it perfectly. If you are an awakened, self-realized being of the highest, you know, like the Jesus, the Moses, or, you know, the Buddha, okay, well, you can do anything with this material.
Yeah, exactly.
If we can go floating through walls, yeah, you know, and breaking down every Newtonian law, well, now it makes sense. So now I can look back at the Moses story and with a different perception. How does that resonate with you, or what would you like to add to that one?
Well, I think that the power of the mind can do anything anyway.
No.
And lots of times when you do talk about your own experiences, and that there's disbelief because you haven't actually seen anything.
Yeah.
So Moses is given an image.
Yeah.
That can't be disputed.
No.
This is his proof.
That's his proof. The burning bush.
Of course, this is his proof.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do that because that proof's already there.
Yeah.
But in days gone back, when people wasn't so Christ conscious as what they are now, or certain people are, then there had to be proof. There had to be something, and if that's what he needed to do to prove to the normal people, that's what he did. It's the same when people don't believe what you're saying or whatever, and you'll say, well, this happened. Okay, I can't prove it, but nothing changes it up there.
It's an experience. If I've experienced something, then it's my truth. I've experienced it, and that's all I can say. And if someone else experiences an experience, that's their truth, their experience. So for me, you know, I'm looking at the parallels now, you know, looking at doing a deep dive on our history, looking at an alternative theory. And I've had this in my head for a while about the parallels between Jesus, Moses, Akhenaten, and there's many more, is what we're all experiencing now.
exactly
at this moment. And I think it's just something that I thought should be raised, as you did as well, in a conversation. I mean, whether we call it, you know, Christ consciousness or what, God conscious, it doesn't really matter what you call it. There's sort of no brownie points for the label. But by looking and raising these questions and questioning and saying, it does tend to, I don't know, how can I put it? It gets you to then question other truths that you thought were true, that possibly are not. I mean, I recorded a podcast today. I was talking to an amazing guy, you know, and I'm saying how, you know, all my truths have changed. And, you know, the magic of mythology, you know, and I was talking about the oracle at Delphi and that, and how the church discredited her, the medium. She was an awakened being that could assist in wars and everything. And I went in the other podcast with oh God, I forget his name now, it's gone, brain fog. And you know, and the fact is, I can now look back on mythology, Christianity, because also I'm in a Christian country, even though I studied the other ones, and with a different perception. And when I switch that perception and go, okay, I'm allowed to question it now. It may never change, and I may still have the same truth, but I can question. And when I question it now, I go, I can see the polarities, the parallels. It's mirror image of each, like as a bloodline goes through. And obviously it goes way before Jesus. You know, it goes to Abraham and it goes all the way back. But we're just talking for, you know, in our history, written history. And it makes you think, are we at the stage now that something, how can I word this? No, let me throw it back to you. No pressure. Where do you think, because I'm nice like that, where do you think, let me join something with, I was going to say, where do you think we are now with this? Now we've had this discussion, but I want to add something to that I think connects to what I'm suggesting here. Do you remember Enoch? Do you want to share the story of Enoch? What did Enoch experience?
Well, I've never studied the Bible, but during my writings, going right back, I was told to read the book of Enoch. And I'm thinking, what? Why do we want to read that? But the whole story starts with him coming down in the ball of fire.
Yeah.
And then all the teachings and the things that he did. And it's the same thing again. This is another one of the wise men.
Yeah.
And he's entering the earth to give his wisdom, to take the lid off this barrel and let it all go.
Yeah.
And when you was talking earlier about the Egyptians and everything, the reason we talk about all that now is because these are the clues that help you to move on.
Yes.
When you do these games where you have to follow the line to get to the destination, but some of them are blocked.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And we can follow a line and then say a religious sect could block that, or a different person's point of view will block that. But once you're into the Christ consciousness, you find other ways around it, and you follow your path. Because you're led, and it is people like Enoch, the experiences Enoch had, the experiences
the Bible, very descriptive of E.T. Craft, I might add. Sorry.
That's right.
And that's why I've linked it to the last part, you know, what's coming next, because, you know, I just had to do that, you know, just lighten it up a bit. You know, it wasn't unusual for it seems, for every major, we could call it conscious expanding of humanity or whatever, Trevor, for multiple, we're going to use the word crafts, okay, or angels, or the wars in heaven, you know, that the Indians and all, you know, saw, witnessed and wrote about, obviously. It seems to be a cycle too. I hear people saying, right, we're at this whatever era, and I'm throwing all of that out. I'm just going on parallels of the stories of what we've been told and how it resonates to now from our theories. On the back of that, you've got Enoch and the chariots and all the magic that happened there. And again, if you go deep into it, it's the initiation again. It's all about the initiation. What is the initiation? It's the initiation of self-realization of who I am. We could say each one of us is the Ark of the Covenant, because when you open the lid, oh, wow, it's not what you think it is. And no. So I'm just looking at, you know, the parallels between it. So I've added a bit more and deviated slightly, but what do you think we are going to see in our so-called heavens and skies? What
are we going to see in the skies? Say again.
Or do you? I'm wording it very carefully. With on the back of what we've just deep dived into. Enoch comes to mind. What do you think humanity is going to witness within the skies, the heavens, or whatever you want to call it?
I don't think all humanity will witness it.
Different timelines. Different timelines.
Yeah, I think so. And those of us who have the awareness, those of us who have done the initiation or still in progress, because I don't think you'll ever do it.
We're always in progress. It's constant. It's constant. Yeah.
We will be more aware of it, but there'll still be beings on Earth or humans on Earth who won't witness it.
I mean, I like the theory that, you know, there are quite a few bloodlines within the Homo sapiens sapien, and there was a few that I'm aware of, and how they've always been hidden away, but doing the work of assisting in the initiation of humanity to awaken to. And I've also noticed recently, some of them, a bloodline does not make you superior to another, okay? It doesn't. It's not about that. It's a conscious DNA. No, hold on. It's like within the DNA of certain it's meant to be that way. There's a strand of consciousness, of frequency. They're hybrids, basically. So they're here for a reason, to assist. They're here to assist. And eventually, everything will be hybridized. Everything has to evolve if you choose the right timeline, obviously. There you go. My truth at the moment is and I did put a short video out recently. There's two timelines now.
Yeah.
There is two timelines. You can
exactly.
When you look outside, it's another timeline. You look what's going on, it's like another timeline, another universe, but you're watching and aware of it. But it doesn't even touch any energy in the body at all. It's like, no. It's
boring. It doesn't resonate with you at all. No, because
it's just got it just I don't know what I can't even say. It's a movie, and it's boring me now. Yeah. And sometimes I have to step into that timeline for certain interaction.
Of course you do.
Yeah. But when I'm in it, I'm like, ooh, I pick up energies like I've never picked up energies before, because it does not resonate at all. I'm aware I have to go in, do the job, you know, get the shopping, get out of the timeline. And I keep thinking, you know, when I look back of what we're experiencing, even about these timelines, and you go back to the parallel of what the Egyptians spoke about, and you know, of the times of Jesus, and it's the same narrative, it's the same guidance, it's the same as what these beings are telling now billions of people in humanity that are switching timelines, that are waking up.
That's right.
They're waking up, and the beings have been there all the time, just waiting to support and help. You know, what is a problem, you know, with the beings? They were there when Jesus, in fact, without the Gabriel, which is a higher frequency being, there wouldn't have been a Jesus. Boom, there you go.
Well, there wouldn't have been a human, would they?
No. So, and from that time, you've got to, if you look at the descendants of Jesus, the bloodline, then when they married and had more children, that bloodline has spilt out through the whole of humanity. No one is special. No one is special. And I'm sure Jesus wasn't the only bloodline. I'm not going to say how many. I think it's irrelevant how many there is. But imagine for 2,000 years of a bloodline, Earth's covered with, you want to call it Christ consciousness, if you want to call it gurus or Buddhas or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. So I'm looking at the parallels. And I think when we look at this theory of an alternative history, our Fayes and Glorias, it just resonates. And we just wanted to have this conversation and discuss it, didn't we?
Yeah, it's nice to turn the light on this subject, because it's a delicate subject, because it's close to lots of people's hearts. Yeah. And it's a really delicate subject, but then it's a subject that should be gone into. Yeah. You want to. Yeah. There's no thing saying you have to learn this, you have to do that. But I do feel that when you've had unconditional love, or you've felt this energy, this Christ energy, then all of a sudden it's like the door opens, and lots of things, like you studied all the religions and that. Yeah. You follow it, and each time you learn more, more falls into place, and it's like keep putting a puzzle.
Pieces of the puzzle. I mean, exactly. When I studied the comparative religions, I by doing so, I realised they all got the same story, just slightly different. That was one. And then I remember the Sumerian, and then I studied the Sumerian tablets and, all of that. And I went, oh my God, there's the same God. I thought Noah was there, and Noah was like 10,000 years before, but he was called another name. Yeah. They all have the same story, and it all reflecting, it's a repetitive cycle. Yeah. Different. Excuse me, getting too excited here. And it just, just reflected in a different way, corrupted here, corrupted there. But when you go in with a different perception and read something, when you've shifted, you see a whole new value to it. You see a whole new narrative in it. You go, oh my God, that's what it means. I mean, I remember, when I first heard, when they said, Jesus said you are all gods, I went, oh my God, isn't that blasphemous? Because he can't be. And I kept saying he can't be God. I remember saying that. Because that's blasphemous. I had this belief drummed in me, Christian, it's blasphemy. There's only one God. And that was when I heard the Catholics say, Christian said he was the Son of God, which I thought you can't do that without sex. And then the Catholics said he was, he was God and the mother of God. And I went, God don't have a mother. Surely God is God. He's omnipotent. This is where my mind as a child was going. That was just childhood. I was questioning that. But I still couldn't get away from the source. As much as I said, right, that's not true. That's not true. The source always stayed all through my life. I didn't know what it was. I called it many things. And then one day I called it God, and then child of God. But it was always there. So I threw out everything of all the religions, And I didn't go to hellfire, by the way. And
not yet.
Fuck off, just fuck off. And one thing that I could never take out of my heart was this love, this energy. It wouldn't go. Thank God for that. I'm very happy with it. Thank you very much. And I think because by shifting, I studied because I was searching for a truth. And I've said it on other podcasts. I studied every religion, all the sciences, and I was looking for the truth. And then one day I realized who I was looking for was the one looking. It was me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the initiation of Jesus. It's the Christ consciousness, or Akhenaten, or Buddha, or, you know.
That's right.
It's just, we just thought we'd have this off the cuff, deep dive, alternative history conversation with some amazing cast members like Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Moses.
That's right. That's right.
We've had the stars in tonight, girl. Thank you, Faye. It's been a great discussion. Before you go, is there anything you would like to add that we haven't touched upon?
I do. When you was on about things repeating, if you look at the way that we go through this reality, it's the same reality, repeating different eras of history.
Yeah.
And like, we're still doing the same thing. Yeah. But what's happening is each time that we get on this merry-go-round and we do the same things again, we're learning how to do it better. We're learning how to understand it. We're learning the powers we can bring in. Yeah. So although it is repetitive, it's repetitive for a reason. If you just take an earthly occupation, more times you do that job, or over all these years you do that job, you can do that job with your eyes shut. Yeah. And it's the same thing, except we're doing the job and our eyes are opening, and our consciousness is opening, our Christ consciousness.
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't. I mean, we just raised the question of Jesus and Mary Magdalene because it's so prominent in our country, because it's a Christian country.
That's right.
Supposed to be anyway, but because of that, and many, you know, there are many people as they come through, I call it the initiation of self-realization. If they've come from a very strong Christian background, which I did not,
no, mate.
Yeah, they have a trouble. They think it's blasphemous, you know, or they can't let go. But it's you don't have to let go of that love that you got. This is what I'm trying to put across. It's just, in fact, it expands you more. I mean, as I said, when I was a child and forced to go to Sunday school, you know,
I was the same. I hated it.
I mean, it was cold. There was no coal fire. There was no food. They were strict.
Exactly.
You're going to go in hellfire. You know, you sinned. And I said, you know, I used to say as a small child, why did Jesus die for my sins? I wasn't even here. And I haven't done nothing yet. I'm a child. But no, you sinned. And my brain would go, can't be. No, it's not right. So, you know, I think that's why I went through all the research, because I needed to find the truth. Was I this sinner that this man had to come and save? And obviously now, you know, there's no external savior. I saved myself. And what do I save myself from? It's from suffering. That's all. You know, wake up, know who you are. There's no suffering. There's no right or wrong. There's no anything. That's another topic and another discussion.
But I don't think it matters what you call it, Christ or whatever religion, and like you say, deity or whatever.
Yeah.
A human always has to put a name to something for others to recognise what they're speaking about.
Yeah, otherwise we can't communicate, can we?
No, and how can you name something like unconditional love. You can't. There's no name for it. It's just an energy, and well, not just, but it's an amazing energy.
And even energy doesn't do it. I mean, it's
it doesn't.
If I say what God, it's not big enough. And then the closest I can get is what Moses said when he's, when he was told to describe this force, this power. I am that I am. Now, I've done that in meditations and really gone in and whoa. And but still that doesn't touch it. Because when this presence comes through, you disappear. Everything disappears. You're it. That's all I can say. You're it. You're it. And we use the word vibration to articulate. You are vibrating, oscillating this joy, it's not
That's
even,
right.
It's not even love. Love is not good enough for it. It is
no, it's not.
Unspeakable, I would say, the unspeakable. Because there is no description. You can't. And the only way, and once you have, it's an experiential knowing. It has to be experiential. You can have an academic, but it's unmentionable. There isn't any, it's a void, it's a no thing, it's nothing. So, but however, when you're trying to talk, you have to bring in terminologies. So I know, I can use the word Christ consciousness because it's a vibration that resonates with people of love.
That's right.
The closest I can get to that. I can use the word God because the word God is resonance with love. So I can do that. I have no issue, with these beings that call themselves the Elohim, the creator gods, because it is love. Their energy is joy. Their energy is just joy. It's bloody joy. You're smiling. So it's trying to find the words to describe something that's undescribable.
That's correct.
And on the back of that and the end of that, I say, what I just spoke about now, anyone that's watching this podcast, that is you. Not just me or Faye. That is you. You are this magnificent, undescribable, unmentionable, beautiful, I can't find a word, being with the potentiality to experience anything you choose. And all you have to do is go through the initiation, through the self-realization, drop the fears, start working on yourself. You're worth more. Value yourself more. Stop, criticizing yourself and undermining yourself and believing you're not good enough. And that's the work. That's the initiation. The constant work. Watch your reactions. If someone presses your button, don't blame them. Look at you. Why am I responding this way?
Yeah.
Why am I playing the victim? So there's many different paths. Take the middle one, the easiest one for your journey. There's many paths. And it's just been an amazing conversation. You've made me smile. And, digging out a word to call whatever it is. There isn't a word. I'm calling it the unmentionable now because, can't find another word, can you?
There isn't a word for it because it's not a word.
And these beings, these interdimensional beings, or ET, and Gabriel and Michael, or whatever names you choose to give them, or we give them, they are aware of this already.
Of course. They
are aware of what this conversation, and they're all having a giggle saying, look at them struggle with the words, but hey ho. But they are aware and are assisting us in becoming self-realized and helping us through the initiation by blending their frequencies with our frequencies. And why shouldn't they? Because we're all hybrids in the end.
Of course we are. That's how we got here in the first place.
Exactly. We're all hybrids in the end. We just think we're independent and they're out there. We can just say they're family and leave it at that. On that note, thank you so much, Faye, for the one-off discussion. Who knows?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's really nice to be able to openly speak about the things that resonate with yourself, or whether other people resonate or not.
Yeah,
it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there, and maybe one of many. Who knows? So thank you for listening to Faye and I's informal chat of our theory of alternative history. It's time to stop. And remember, you can find this podcast Inception special on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. Until the next time we meet again, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.